Uh-oh. The last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
Springfest at Lowe's means can't miss savings for your home and lawn. Right now, buy 3 bags, get 3 free on Miracle-Gro 3/4 cubic foot all-purpose garden soil. Plus, buy 2, get 1 free on select exterior paint and stain via mail-in rebate. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 4/16, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. While supplies last, selection varies by location. See rebate form for complete list of eligible products. Offer excludes clearance and mistints and can't be combined with any other offer, promotion, discount, or coupon.
Even if that's not our story or where we're at, God is still good.
I've let people into kind of just like career stuff. What's next? I've been running this business for 7 years and just kind of seeing what God's going to do with I'm getting older. I teach spin. My body's slowly getting tired. So I have started to let people in of just like, we would be praying for like what is next, or just we poke holes in this idea that I have, and who are you seeking wise counsel from, and what are they rooted in? And yeah, I've definitely let people into other areas of my heart, and it's been really wonderful and way less isolating than I lived in my 20s.
I don't think I've ever shared. So here it is. I laid it out on the table. They're literally like jaw dropped, eyes open. A couple girls are getting teary and they're like, how did I not know this about you? It kept me hidden. It kept me, that's what shame does. Yeah. And so I think the fact that I was able to share it with them, they literally look at me, they're like, and now I feel like you're even more strong than I knew. You're beautiful. You're fine. And it's just like, they can encourage me in that. One of the girls literally texted me today. I was like, hey, just thinking about what you shared the other night. Thank you so much for your vulnerability. And I'm like, that is the power of community. And that's why we're called to be in community.
Sarah, Kenzie, welcome to 80/20. I'm super pumped to have you guys here today.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. You guys are the hosts of Even If podcast. I would love to just learn a little bit about that name and kind of the story behind the Even If mindset.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I think it was something that Kenzie initially said. I guess maybe you should say your part first. You initially heard the words even if.
Yes.
Or it had been on your heart, right?
Yes. It's kind of like this whole concept about like, what if, and that's like such a fear-based mindset. And I think being in early 30s and feeling like, okay, well, what if this doesn't happen? What if I'm not here? And that constantly kind of compounding. And then just hearing the Lord just be like, even if XYZ happens, even if the job doesn't work out, even if the relationship fails, even if you lose money, like he is still so good. And so Sarah and I actually had this idea of a podcast come on our hearts separately. I was living in Austin, just moved back. She was living in Charleston, heading back. And we had been encouraged by our friends for so long to start a podcast. And even if was put on my heart on a plane ride home after texting her about it. And she was like, no way, you're not going to believe this story. And I'll let her
So
share.
then that's when it's crazy because she had said that. And I was like, I was just reading this morning, Daniel 3, where it's talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego going into this fire. And, you know, they're like, my God will save me. Like, I will not bow down. I will not worship King Nebuchadnezzar. My God will save me. And even if he doesn't, he is still good. Mm-hmm. And I just thought how powerful the faith they had to be able to say that and just say, even if I will, like, even if he is still good. Mm-hmm. And so I'm literally reading that this morning and Kenzie's like, what do you think about even if? And I was like, yes.
That's amazing. And when you share that story, has there been like an even if moment? I mean, I guess life is kind of just one big even if moment if we're being real, but is there one even if moment that kind of stands out to you guys in maybe like this season of life or your early 20s kind of season of life, maybe both?
There's so many even if moments.
I think that's what was fun too. When we were our podcast, we just launched this past October 2024. And when we were even just writing podcast outlines, it was like, even if you're single, even if it fails, even if you're not where you thought you would be, even if you lose friends, and it was just all these things that we can say even if too,
Mm-hmm.
I think Kenzie and I, when we first had it on our mind, it was a lot about just even if you're single, because we're both 30s. I'm 33,
I'm
right?
34. Yeah.
33, she's 34.
Yep.
And just, we both have wanted to be married and
Mhm.
have kids. And it's not something that the Lord has allowed his timing for in this season. And so it's kind of like, even if that's not our story or where we're at, God is still good. So
Yeah.
for me, at least, that's
Yeah.
kind of what
Yeah.
I think when I had read that story, when I was praying through where I was in that season of life,
Yeah.
that's where my
And
head was.
yeah, and I think we just came together in saying, like, we didn't think that we would be where we are at this age. You know, we live in the Bible Belt, we live in Nashville, and we're not where we thought we'd be. And there's nobody really talking a lot about singleness when they're single and they're in their 30s, right? Like, you can get advice from single people, you can get advice from married people about singleness, but you're like, that's all great, but like you're not really in the arena with me. Like, you don't really know what it is like to walk through that.
Yeah.
And so we just want to make purpose in our single season, and we want to make purpose through the things that we've gone through as entrepreneurs, as women that love fitness, that have kind of overcome certain things and adversities in our life. We're like, why? This is a perfect opportunity as a passion project. See what the Lord does with it, but be able to just pour into women and say, no, we actually are in the arena with you. We know what it's like. We are single and we desire to be married. We have started these businesses. I've started one and it failed last year. Like, there's so many things that kind of we have collectively come together and said, let's just share our story and hope that it empowers women our age, women younger, women older, that kind of thing.
Guys, that's so good. I don't know if you can see me. I'm taking crazy notes over here. Okay, we're going to get into all of that today. But before we dive too deep in, I want to give you guys a couple rapid fire questions just so the listeners can kind of get to know you guys a little bit better. These are quick, one word, maybe two. The last one, you can add a little bit more words. So question number one, don't think too hard. Go-to coffee order of late.
Drip.
Iced oat milk latte with vanilla. I'm the complicated one.
Love it. Okay. All right. Favorite song on repeat right now?
I'll be delighted.
Hindsight is happiness.
Good stuff. A quote that you live by or one that's resonated recently. I know for me, I can't pick just one quote or like one.
Good.
Yeah. Like one life quote. I'm more of like a quote that's resonated recently type of girl. You can answer more than one word. Yeah. You can answer in more than one word.
I feel like
one word.
Something that's on my heart right now is just the phrase persistent prayer. It's not really a quote. It's like from a parable in the Bible, but I just like persistent prayer.
Okay. Love that.
Would be my quote.
Love that.
I'm in right now.
Love that. Mine would be process over outcome. Like, who you become is a lot more important than the thing that you're praying for, working towards.
Those are amazing. I'm writing both of those down too. I told you guys I'm taking crazy notes today. All right. Do you like to be in the driver's seat or in the passenger seat?
Driver.
Passenger. Is this in life or cars?
Make a perfect pair, huh?
Yeah.
We do make a perfect pair. I know, same.
Favorite day of the week?
Sunday.
Saturday.
Weekend girls. All right. Before making a phone call, do you practice what you're going to say?
Absolutely not.
Yes. Depends on who, I guess, maybe.
All right. What is an essential habit of your morning routine?
I'm sorry. I feel like I've answered first on
No,
all
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm just actually waiting for you. I can go.
No, should we do it at the same time?
Yeah.
Quiet
Jesus. Quiet
Love
time.
it.
We both
Love
get
it.
up at like 5 a.m, and that's when we usually connect and communicate before our days go. So time with the Lord and quiet time.
Same.
Love it. Absolutely. I totally relate. Okay, this one you can definitely answer more than just like one or two words. But if you could go back and give your 22-year-old self one piece of advice, because like the average age here is about 22 of my listeners, what would that one piece of advice be?
I would tell my younger self, please, like, have fun. Stop taking it so seriously. It's all going to work out. And you cannot mess up your own life. Like, you're not powerful enough. So just enjoy where you're at, be where your feet are, have fun, laugh, live free.
That's good.
That's good. Retweet.
What she said.
Yeah, no, I think Kenzie and I did a couple podcasts on this recently about talking to your younger self, because I think there's so much I would say. Number one, pursue Jesus and follow him, be in community with other believers, and walk with the Lord. Tell people when you mess up, take risks, try things.
It's good.
Love hard. Don't be afraid. Try things. There's so much I would say.
I know.
Love it. That's so good. So we talked a little bit in the intro about the even if mindset. And I'm the type of person who really loves tangibles. Like I could talk on and on all day about, different ways of thinking, different mindsets, different approaches to life, different philosophies. But I think ultimately like we can talk and I really get into the habit sometimes of just like word salad. Like this is all the talk, but I love the tangibles and I love the actions. So when we consider the even if mindset, it's definitely an approach to life that I think is absolutely essential. Like even if it doesn't go the way that I planned it, it'll go the way that God planned it. And that's the coolest thing. And I can't mess that plan up. Like you just said, Sarah, like you can't mess up the plan. Just try different things, take risks. So do you guys have any tangibles that you use in your life? Any little habits, any routines that you use to engage in the even if mindset and practice it every day?
Such a good question.
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is gratitude. And when we are grateful for things, when we take time to appreciate things and take that 30,000 foot view up and stop looking at ourselves so closely, we can get so caught up in looking at me, what's going on with me, what I wish was happening. This is this. But when we can put that down, take that 30,000 foot view and see what's going on and find things to be grateful for, I think that shifts everything. I mean, if we're talking about singleness, it's like, wow, how do I keep that even if mindset? I'm so thankful that I'm in a season right now where I have the ability to spend my money how I want and go on trips whenever I want. I'm so grateful that I do not have the responsibilities of X, Y, and Z because I am single. And just finding those things to be grateful for is one thing I think that can help me get back to that and still being okay, accepting this is what I want and this is what I'm praying for and hoping for and having that persistent prayer. But even if he is still good because I'm grateful for ABC.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that. That's really good. I think for me, like one of the tangible ways would be just like continuing to ride in the tension of being uncomfortable. So maybe that's in your workout. Maybe that's in doing something that kind of scares you. Maybe that's asking a friend to coffee and like creating new community. I think a big part of being able to find, like what Sarah's just saying, of gratitude in the season of the even if, when you're waiting on prayers that haven't been answered, when you're expecting the miracle, even if you don't know the miracle is ever going to come. The key for that, for me, and Sarah and I talk about this a lot, is who you surround yourself with. So I think just continuing to practice being uncomfortable, seeking people that have, like-mindedness like you and push you and challenge you and remind you of where you are and why you are where you are. I think that even if mindset is a posture of heart, it's that gratitude, like Sarah said. And it's just having that kind of hopeful heart to say, you know what, I'm going to believe that this is going to come true for me. And if it doesn't, God has something better. But I think being able to tangibly practice being uncomfortable, practice gratitude, practice putting yourself outside your comfort zone and seeking new friendships. And I think that all is going to slowly build this like mindset where you're going to risk. Because I'm a big believer that if you don't risk, you don't have a story to tell. And the story is the most important piece, right? Like the story is the thing that's going to allow for you to inspire other people. And that's why we're on this earth, is to love one another and to empower one another. And that's what Sarah and I have honestly dedicated our professional and personal lives to, is pouring and giving back, because we've been those girls that have been questioning and wondering. And I know for me personally, like I always just wish I had somebody older that could say, hey, it's going to work out, do X, Y, Z. And I promise you it's all going to be okay. But I think those are some tangible ways that I, even to this day, I know Sarah probably too, practice that even if kind of state and heart posture.
Did you know that every 37 minutes a family farm shuts down? That means that by the end of this episode, another family farm will have closed its doors. But Good Ranchers is changing that. Good Ranchers is American meat delivered. All of their products are born, raised, and harvested in the United States. So when you buy from them, you're supporting American farmers and ranchers who fed this country for generations. Last night, my mom and I used the Good Ranchers steak tips to make picadilla for dinner. It was absolutely delicious. The meat was fantastic. All of Good Ranchers beef, chicken, pork, and wild-caught seafood is 100% born, raised, and harvested right here in the United States. And all of their products are free from hidden additives. So that means that there's no antibiotics, there's no hormones, there's no seed oils. But Good Ranchers is more than just meat. Every box supports American farmers and ranchers, which means that your food stays local and you know exactly where it's coming from. The best part is that Good Ranchers is running their Spring into Action special right now. So when you subscribe to any Good Ranchers box, you will get free bacon, ground beef, seed oil-free chicken nuggets, or salmon in every box for a year. You get to pick which one. And you get $40 off with the code 8020. That's 8020. This is their best offer ever. You can visit goodranchers.com to shop, subscribe, and stand with American ranchers. That's goodranchers.com and use code 8020 for $40 off. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered.
Hey friends, I'm Annie F. Downs, author, speaker, podcaster, and part of the That Sounds Fun network. And I'm a big fan of seeing God move in our everyday lives. Can we talk for a second about what it really means to be a person of faith? It's waking up every day and choosing to trust Him, even when life feels uncertain. It's standing firm in truth, walking in grace, and knowing that God is always with us. But I know staying rooted in faith is not always easy. At least it isn't for me. And that's why I love Glorify, the #1 Christian devotional app designed to help you start, grow, and strengthen your relationship with God every single day. One of the things I love about Glorify is the amount of options available to me through the app every day. Not only does it help me kick off my time with God with their daily devotional, but there's a song of the day to listen to and a community of other users available to engage with. It's really cool. With Glorify, you can begin your morning in scripture, reflect with the daily devotional, and end the day with the daily walk with God, this immersive experience that quiets your heart and refocuses your spirit. It's one of my favorite hacks, something simple but powerful that keeps you anchored when life gets busy. Join me and over 20 million believers who have found encouragement through Glorify. Download the app today at glorify-app.com/podcast, and let's keep walking in faith together. Again, that's glorify-app.com/podcast.
You said who you surround yourself with can really contribute to your mindset. And I think in your 20s, there's sort of this like shedding of old friends and then maybe new friends come in. Did you guys have an experience like that throughout your 20s of like kind of molding and shaping who you're surrounding yourself with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I was in college, I was first season in nursing school. I was in a sorority and I played soccer. My friend group was so huge and I knew so many people and I felt exhausted all the time. I wouldn't have known that or seen that in the moment, but I think looking back, I felt so, I mean, my relationships were thin. They weren't going deep because how do you keep up with all those people?
Yeah.
And I was trying and I'm trying to keep up and then it's everybody's birthday. Every week there's somebody's birthday and there's a party. And then how can I remember that you had this prayer request? Because it was just so much. And so I think that's very common in college and it's fun and enjoy it. But I think something that's really important and that for your listeners to hear is that like, it's so important to know, to have maybe circles of friends and to realize you can have this huge circle of friends and that's great. And we should love everybody. Amazing. And then you have your middle circle and your middle circle is, 6 to 8 people. And these are people that know you fairly well and know what's going on in your life. And then you have this inner circle. And these inner circle are these people that you are going deep with, that know the details of your life, that know your worst parts of you. They know your shame. You talk to them about everything. And I think that's really hard to have an inner circle with 20 people.
Yeah.
And it's hard because we want that. I wanted all my sorority girls, my soccer girls, my nursing school friends, and then just my acquaintances to be in my inner circle. But you just can't. And I think we can't go that deep with everybody. We'll be exhausted. It's probably also impossible. And so just realizing that that just can't happen. And so, yeah, I think as I've gotten older, one, just life changes, and I'm not in a sorority anymore. I don't play soccer and I'm not in nursing school.
Yeah.
So that just naturally changes. But I think, yeah, as you get older, just figuring out still the same concept of those circles and where people go, and boundaries with friends and what that looks like, to figure out how to navigate those friendships and where you're pouring in and where you're being poured into.
Okay, so I want to kind of like stay there for a second and talk about boundaries, because I think there are a lot, because I'm kind of in that phase right now where the friend group is kind of shrinking. And I think that that's a good thing, because you mentioned it's a lot of energy to pour into 1,000 different people. But how do you guys navigate? I feel like this could be any season of life, but specifically in your 20s, sometimes you have friendships that aren't balanced. Maybe I think that we're better friends than that person thinks, or maybe that person thinks that they're better friends with me. How do you kind of navigate that or balance that, I guess?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. I think your 20s are like you're shedding different layers of your skin. I think in your 20s, one of the things that I remember is you are growing so fast. You know, like you're changing so quickly, and it is really difficult to grow at the same pace as people in your inner circles. And so when it comes to boundaries are incredibly healthy. Every single person is going to have like a different level, like what Sarah was saying with your inner circle. And so in your 20s, when you are changing so quickly, it is important to, figure out like what your capacities are, because your capacities also change in your 20s. And my capacities are very different at 34 than they were when I was 27, when I was growing my business, when I was 25, when I was in my sorority, when I was in college. So I think it is important to remember that it's okay to have people walk away from you. It's okay to walk away from people. It's okay to have other people outgrow you. It's okay if you outgrow other people. Like, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. And people always say, there's that saying where it's like people come into your life for a reason, a season, or for a lifetime. And my friendships have iterated, and I've actually met my closest friends. Some of my closest friends have been in my 30s. And that's something that I think in your 20s you should be excited about, because you are going to change so much, and it's going to be really exciting as you become these different iterations of yourself, that you're going to meet people along the way that are also growing with you and want the same things as you. And to be able to, like Sarah and I, we've been friends for 8 years, and we met, when we were 25 and 26, and we were working as assistants, and we came back together. We've been friends obviously since then, but now we live in the same city, but God has us in the same season of life. We have the similar capacities. We have the same goals. We're driven, like we're very different, but also very similar. And I think being able to just understand that can shift and change based on what kind of boundaries you want to set and what your capacities look like, and giving yourself grace to know that it's okay. I remember in my 20s, I used to beat myself up when my friendships would shift and change, and I just had to know that it's okay. Like, there's so many people, especially when you're in your 20s, like there's so many people in your life that you haven't met yet that are going to love you and that you're going to love, and to stay hopeful and curious about that, and know that if you're on a certain path and you're in the will of God, like continue to be obedient, and he'll bring the right people, and be encouraged that those right people are going to come in every stage of life. Like, it's not just going to be in your 20s.
Oh, that's so encouraging to hear, because like I mentioned, I'm kind of in the midst of a bit of a shift, and that's just encouraging. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I was kind of like, I hope that I still have fun, like in this next season of life, compared to like how much fun I just had. And he was like, that's such a dumb thing to say, because you like I'm 24. He's like, you're literally 24. Like, you have so much fun ahead of you. You're going to continue meeting cool people. Like, the fun doesn't stop just because something's changed. And so that's so encouraging.
No, Lily, I'm telling you, I have more fun in my 30s. Like, I swear, I was telling a friend, I was on a walk yesterday, I was like, I feel like I'm Benjamin Button. Like, I feel like the older I get, the younger I get, because the wiser you get, the more like freedom you feel in your spirit, the less you're afraid. Like, that doesn't mean that I'm not scared, but my goodness, like, I genuinely have more fun at 34 than I ever had in my 20s.
I think you're just more confident in who you are too.
Yeah.
And knowing that helps also in your friendships. Cause I think, you had said, like, what if one friendship, what was the initial question? Like, what if one friendship is
like, if it's like
different than-
unbalanced, like one-sided kind of thing, like, one
Yeah.
person's pouring in and one person doesn't really care kind of thing.
Totally. And I think that's important to evaluate and
Yeah.
and have expectations for what these are. I have some friendships, they're more mentors because I know that I call them and I'm immediately talking about me and telling them everything that's going on. And then at the end I'm like, have you had a good week? Are you doing okay?
Like, are you okay too?
I'll call you next week to talk about me again,
Right. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's our relationship.
Yeah.
I have some people who I know will just call me and they are on the other end of that where
Mhm.
it's like, hey, Sarah, I'm going through this. I need your help. Can you pray for me? I don't know what to do. And I'm not here to feel heard. I'm not here to tell them how my
that's
week's
good.
going. I know that that relationship is a me pouring in relationship
Yeah.
Yeah.
and to have those expectations in that. And so then I think as friendships, like peers, that can be hard because it's like, well, she's doing this or she's initiating more. So I think to evaluate that and be aware of the 5 people you surround yourself with is going to be a product of who you are.
Uh-huh.
And so I want to see where you're headed. I want to see, wow, Kenzie, I love that she is somebody who is dedicated to her work. She's loyal to her friends. She loves people. She loves Jesus. She's involved in her church. She's somebody I want to be around. And she says she's going to be there when I say, hey, 3:00, she's there at 3:00. I can count on her. She's somebody I want to surround myself with. And so I know that I'm going to give that same effort back to her because she does that for me. And so I think seeing those things. And if she was somebody who over time I realized she's not there when she says she's going to be, or I've told her about multiple things and asked for prayer and kind of told her some things about my heart, and I feel like she's just not really listening, then you know what? That's something that I reevaluate, and I have to set up an appropriate boundary and be like, maybe she's not a friend that shares that with me. Maybe she's just a really great coworker, or maybe she's just a really fun friend at the cycle studio. And maybe she's not that person to share the intimate details of my life. And I think sometimes only time and experience can help you figure that out and navigate that.
I think the other thing, when you do have those people that like Sarah's that for me, like you've got those ride or dies, there's going to be seasons where like, don't give up on the friends that have been that for you for so long. If they're going through something, like extend that grace and just communicate. I will say that's one regret that I wish I would have done, is been more communicative when I was struggling, so that friends knew like, hey, I can't show up for you the way that I used to, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to in the future. And just continuing to like assess, like Sarah was saying, like who are those people? And then we're not perfect. We live in a very broken world, just because I think we live in a culture where it's like, you got to match those energies. You got to match those energies. And I think to a degree that's true, but also if you do, it's so rare to find friends like this. Make sure that if they are going through a tough season, like you're not just because you're not getting that same kind of level of reciprocity, that you don't just walk away, and just, that's one thing that I wish I would have done in my 20s, is like communicate that a little bit better.
That's so good, because like you mentioned, there's such a big culture of like, oh, if this person wanted to, then they would. And I struggle with that because it's like, yes, but also, can they right now? Like, are they in a space where they can reciprocate the same level? So that's really interesting that you bring that up. Have you guys had experiences maybe in your 20s or recently, like wherever it applies, where you kind of have had to like shift the balance yourself?
Yeah, I have. It's that level of expectation. I think that's one thing that Sarah's really encouraged me to, is that you have to really be realistic about what your expectations are of that person's capacity. Look at what's going on in their life and have a ton of grace for that. And then also know like, okay, well, if they can't give me what I quote unquote need as a friend, or if they're not really matching, then that's okay. I don't need to make this massive deal about it. I can just kind of quietly either exit or have a conversation, or just kind of give whatever is back. But yeah, I think that's going to be true of life for our entire lives. I think we're going to constantly be reassessing different capacities. But I think that's why when you do have those 4 or 5 people that are your core people, and they've seen you through thick and thin, and they've been there with you through everything, like hold tight to those people and fight for those friendships, because it is rare. And there's a couple friendships in my 20s I let go of that I wish I would have fought harder for, because I was all about like, well, they're not matching me, so therefore like it's not worth digging into. And I wish I would have dug into that. So I think that's just something that I've learned in my 20s when it comes to especially female friendships. Like, they're worth fighting for if you have those core values and you see life similarly, and you're after the same thing, and there's this selflessness that you can just depend on. And I think another thing too is just having friends that are so excited for you for your wins. Like, yeah, friends can be there for you when you're down in the dumps, but also pay attention to the friends that are really celebratory of the things that are going well for you. I think that's really key in female friendships, longevity wise.
Okay, so I want to kind of shift the convo just a smidge to singleness. And you guys kind of mentioned it at the beginning of the episode that even if was kind of born out of singleness being a kind of a topic that you guys really wanted to touch on. So I would love for you guys to just speak to what is singleness bringing in your life right now versus what it was like in your maybe like mid to late 20s.
Somebody asked me the other day, they're like, do you feel called to singleness? Because I feel like you talk about it a lot and you're like doing things for single people. I was like, absolutely
No.
not. And I do think there are people that are called to it. Yes. I think what Kenzie and I mean, Kenzie shared earlier, just that it doesn't feel like there's a lot of people that are in their 30s that are desiring this greatly, that are kind of speaking about it, or at least maybe we're just not aware of where it is, or we're not listening to the podcast. We haven't heard them. But I think it's just, yeah, it's hard, and I don't feel called to it, but I feel called to love people. I feel called to be present in my season. I feel called to trust God's plan, even if it's not what I thought it would be, or even if I'm not where I want to be. So yeah, even if it was definitely born out of our desire for where we thought we would be in the season. And I would say from 20s to 30s has definitely shifted a lot. I remember being 22, graduating college, and all my friends were, ring by spring. And I was dating a guy, and I was like, absolutely not. I am 22 years old. And I remember just thinking, I want to travel. Like, I'm not ready to get married. And I knew I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be a wife. Like, I wanted that when I was 12 years old. I was holding baby dolls, like wanting that, And so at 22, for the Lord to have put that desire in my heart to not be ready for that in the moment, I just felt like he's got something else. And shortly after that, I traveled around the world. I did a solo trip, 99 days around the world. And it was incredible. And I saw so many cultures. I went to so many continents and countries, and I opened my eyes so much. So I think it was fun. And then, you learn a lot about who you even are in your 20s. That the guys I dated, I look back and I'm like, that would have never worked. Or even praise the Lord. I'm just like, what was I thinking? And that's where I can look back and be like, oh my goodness, he knows, because it just would not have been, or I was not as serious about my faith, or I cared way more about his looks than his personality. And praise the Lord, it didn't work out. You know what I mean?
It's so good.
And so I think it was just more carefree, fun. I will say like mid to late 20s, I remember it starting to get really hard, and just feeling like at this point, my friends are starting to have babies. And I also felt the weight of it, because I would hear about struggles in relationship and in marriage. And I feel like I also started digging in more about, okay, so it's more than looks. It's more than if he's an athlete. It's more than like all these surfacey things that I used to think is what I wanted in a man. I felt like you really see, wow, is he present in kids' lives? Like my friends' husbands, are they present in their lives? Are they loving their wife when her body changes through pregnancy? Are they reading their Bible consistently, or were they just involved at church? Are they like, what are they? Can you see the fruits? And so I think it's just the older we get, Kenzie and I again have talked about this, it's like the weight of it feels heavier, and it almost feels harder, because I think we know more and have seen more. So at this stage, it's just it can feel harder because of that, for one. And then also obviously just the weight of waiting longer is hard. What would you say, Kenzie?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo everything that Sarah said. I think that, that is definitely the posture of where Even If was born, because we're both very career driven, like we both run our own businesses. And I definitely was similar to Sarah. Like my mom had me when she was 31. My parents are divorced, but my mom is very independent, taught me everything. Like, never in my mind did I think that I was looking to be married in my 20s. Honestly, I just was always like very, very career driven. And that didn't mean that I was oblivious and like not paying attention to the love life portion. Like I desired that and I wanted that. I come from, family divorce, really tough marriage. Didn't have a great example of what love looked like. I didn't grow up in like a Christian home. So I found my faith in college. And I think the Lord really had to work in me in my 20s to really desire what was good for me. I think a lot of times we don't necessarily want what we need, but we need to want what we ultimately need, right? So I think that's been one of my prayers is, Lord, like allow for me to want what I need and need what I want, and those two things to be in alignment. And I think that's so true for relationships. I think of all the guys that I've dated, I've been in 2 really serious relationships that were leading towards engagement, and praise God I didn't marry those guys. And I think everyone's story is different. I think you can meet in your 20s and that can be your story and it's beautiful. And then me and Sarah have a story where we're in our 30s, and Lord willing, we meet our husbands in our 30s, and that story will make sense. But 20s were definitely lonely for me. They were really difficult for me. I was trying to figure out what city to live in. What was I going to do for a living? Who was I? How did I love how did I learn to love my body? Like I didn't even like the way that I looked. So how was I going to ever expect a man to for me to receive a love from a man if I couldn't even receive the love of my own self, and who I was. So there's so much iterations and growing and shedding of old skin in my 20s. And then you get to your 30s and it's weightier, it's heavier. Like Sarah said, like this is the biggest decision outside of committing to loving Jesus that we're ever going to make. And so I really, and I know Sarah does too, because we talk about this all the time, but we want a kingdom love, a love that we can raise kids in that love and know Jesus, and it's happy and it's joyful and it makes sense. And I think now more than ever, we feel more ready for that. And I think the posture for me, for sure, is I'm so much more hopeful the older I am, which kind of doesn't really make sense, because you think, oh my gosh, you're 34 now. Like and I'm like, no, now I know what I want and I know who I am. And this version of myself I love more than I've ever loved any other version. So I'd love to attract somebody, this version of Kenzie. And so I hope to encourage anyone that's listening to this that is single in their 20s or even in their 30s, like I really think the posture of your heart is so important, and to be excited to get older and to know that with that comes wisdom, and God will put the right people alongside you so you don't feel lonely. And Sarah's that for me. And we get to walk alongside each other in a single season where we are in our 30s and we live in the Bible Belt, and we get questions. We get asked all the time, how are y'all still single? Like, we don't get it. And we're like, well, it's a man upstairs. Like, we don't know what's going on, but it's like, God's done so much good things with our single season. And I've said this a lot, and I say this on behalf of Sarah and I, like we both, like when we get to the altar one day, because I believe that for both of us, like we can both say that we lived our single season to the fullest. Like we started the business, we started the podcast, we mentored the girls, we were leading the girls, we booked the trip, like we did all these really awesome and are doing these things to live it up and live it to its fullest so that we can maximize where God has us. And I think that's what he wants us to do, because it's outside our control. Like there's nothing I don't want anything that I can go make happen. I don't want a love story like that. So I want to be open and willing, but I think just being able to just accept where you are and have hope is going to be like, it's all you can do, and maximize the season that you're in, because you never get to say goodbye to the season that you're in. One day, Sarah and I are going to meet the guy and we're going to be like, oh my gosh, now we're no longer single, and this is wild. And so I think that's just true of different seasons of life. So maximizing it is like something that we're really passionate about, and that's why we started this podcast.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can even finish the bachelor's degree you started in 22 months for $20,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by PACE, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, so not only are you guys like maximizing it, but I also think, like, to your credit, I was listening to, I think it was your most recent episode, the one about Go Create. And I think, Sarah, you're talking about how you pray for your future husband. And so not only are you guys like really maximizing this time in that regard, but I think, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, so I would love for you guys to take the mic here in a second, but you guys are also like doing the work. Like, not only are you, waiting, but I feel like you're, or at least it seems like you guys are doing the work. So can you speak to that for just a moment?
Oh my goodness. Yes. I pray for my husband. And there have been times where I remember in middle school, I started a journal and I was like, I'm going to give this to him one day. I have no idea where that journal is. I wish I had it.
Somewhere. You'll find
I'm
it.
sure I know. I have journals from middle school. I love to write, but there have been times where in the midst of a journal of just normal morning quiet time, I'll write him a little note. And there have also been seasons that I'm in and I'm like, I'm done praying for him. God, if you wanted to give me him, you would, because nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a sermon the other day and it was talking about, what if God said yes? What if he said yes to everything you've prayed for last week? He's like, would your food just be nourished? And would you get the front row parking spot? And would Tennessee beat Florida? And, and I'm like, oh my gosh, was that my last week's prayers?
Yeah.
Or was my prayers last week, Lord, bring me a husband. I'm ready to do kingdom work with a partner beside me. I am so ready to raise babies who know you and love you. And I want to be a mom and I want to steward that if this is your will. And, and if that's my prayer, like, why am I not praying that every day?
Yeah.
And so I feel like I heard that sermon and I need people to remind me that at times, because I can get mad and just be like, okay, God, I'm done. And he has been continually reminding me, or through friends reminding me of keep asking, like ask, seek, knock. He says, keep asking, persistent prayer. That's why that's been on my heart recently. Like, pray persistently for this. And yeah, it's hard. There's days that I just don't. And I think when I do, it's like sometimes you just do it. You just do. You're like, all right, this is me. God, it's me again. I still
want the same
really
thing.
want a husband. So yeah, I think for me, it definitely can come in waves of what that looks like, praying for him and my patience. And we were just talking recently about timing and how God is not delay. He does not delay. He's not early. He's not late. He's always on time. The only thing is it's us that are impatient. And he's not delayed. We are just impatient. And I was like, oh, that'll preach. If I can lean in that and truly believe that and know he's not late on bringing me husband, and maybe it's on this side of heaven, maybe it's not for me, but he is not delayed in what he wants for me. I am just impatient, or I have not had my heart and desires aligned with his and what he has, and reminding myself of that.
It's so good. Yeah. And I would say this is the first year that I've actually asked for prayer for my husband. I would always pray, like, Lord, I want my husband. Where is he? Pray for his heart, pray for his character, pray for, protection of him and all those things. But this was the first year where I got vocal about the fact that I actually desired it and talked to my friends about it. And I have a mentor, a spiritual mentor, and it's on her nightstand, and she prays for my husband every night before she goes to bed. And my best friend who lives in Austin, we were coming into this year. I usually do like a word of the month. Sarah and I do this on the podcast, and it's been something that we've done for, I don't know, I've done it for like 2 years now, but this year was the first year where I felt like the Lord gave me like a phrase for the year, and was just like very much like, I know you want this. Like, don't be afraid to ask for it. Like, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. I'm an achiever. So it's like, I'll just work for the things I know I can control. So then I'm not afraid to be disappointed, because that's probably my biggest fear, is like just the fear of disappointment. I don't care if I get my heart broken, the pain, the physical, whatever. It's like, oh man, I got my hopes up and it didn't work out. And so I just felt like the Lord was like, you got to start asking, like, start telling people about it. So my phrase for the year is expect a miracle with uncommon hope. And that miracle is a marriage, a husband, and not just any marriage. That's something Sarah and I talk about. Like, we could be married if we wanted to, but we want really a unique, rare love. And so that's my phrase. And so my best friend, and we spent, her and her boyfriend came out for New Year's. And we woke up and she was like, I want us to pray for your husband every Monday at 8 a.m. And I said, okay. So we have a calendar, shared calendar, on our Mondays at 8, and it's pray for KT's husband with a red heart. And it's just been so sweet to let my people into that desire and be brave enough and vulnerable enough to say, yeah, this is what I actually really want. And so that's something too that I would just encourage, like, in addition to praying for your husband, ask your people to also speak into that and pray. And then that way too, when you're having a hard day, I had a hard day a couple weeks ago where I came to Sarah and we were crying on this couch over here, or I was crying because I was just like, work stuff. And then I'm like, and on top of it, I don't even have the one thing that I want, which is a husband anyway. So it's just like one of those, we have those days sometimes. And so I think being able to just be honest is just, it's so freeing. So, rally your people and pray for that. And then when God does show off and he gets all this glory for all the, like, more people are impacted, instead of you kind of keeping it in.
Yeah, I think that's so special, inviting people into such a vulnerable desire. Do you feel like you've kind of let that happen in other areas of your life after asking people to pray for your future husband? Or do you feel like that's something that's kind of unique to that one specific desire?
Such a good question. Actually, yes. I've let people into kind of just like career stuff. What's next? I've been running this business for 7 years and just kind of seeing what God's going to do with I'm getting older. I teach spin. My body's slowly getting tired. So I have started to let people in of just like, will you be praying for like what is next? Or just, will you poke holes in this idea that I have? And it's people that I really trust and respect, people that know my heart, and people who, I wouldn't mind trading lives with. I think that's a great way to kind of censor, like, who are you seeking wise counsel from, and what are they rooted in? And yeah, I've definitely let people into other areas of my heart, and it's been really wonderful and way less isolating than I lived in my 20s. It's just also, we're called to do life with each other, and that's been just a really sweet thing, because again, when the miracle does happen, when something really hard happens, you have these people to rally beside you. And that's why community is so key, and having mentors and having peers and people that you can just call and be like, I need you. And that's something that's really hard to admit in your 20s. And I think, probably at any age, but I want people's advice in my life now, because I've messed up a lot, and a lot of that was because I just was very stubborn and hard-headed, and I just kept doing the thing that I wanted instead of like opening up my life and asking for help.
Community is such a gift, and to be able to share that and share our hurts, share our shame. I was at Bible study this past week, and we were listening to this message on the screen, and then we went around and had some discussion questions. The first discussion question was, share a part of your life where you feel shame and can now offer hope. And I'm like, I can't share my deepest shame.
Yeah, really, that's a tough question. Yeah.
Isn't that tough? And that's like the first one. I had been,
you're like, way to break the ice. Like,
I know.
I was like, what's your favorite color?
Yeah, what's your high, low, anything else?
Yeah.
Really boring. Yeah.
Anything but that. Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. And I kind of just sat there and I was thinking, I have been in this Bible study with this group of women for 8 years. These girls know me. And I was thinking, my deepest shame, they don't know.
Wow.
How crazy is that? And I'm like, that's the freaking power of shame, though. Yeah. It does that. It tells us to hide it. It tells us to stuff it. And to bring it to light, and for me to open up and share and be like, y'all, I know I've like alluded to things of my past, but I don't think I've ever shared. So here it is. I laid it out on the table. They're literally like jaw dropped, eyes open. A couple girls are getting teary, and they're like, how did I not know this about you? And I'm like, I can talk about it more freely now than I probably did when I was closer to it. But also it just like, it kept me hidden. It kept me, that's what shame does. Yeah. And so I think the fact that I was able to share it with them, they literally look at me, they're like, now I feel like you're even more strong than I knew. You're beautiful. You're fine. And it's just like, they can encourage me in that. One of the girls literally texted me today, was like, hey, just thinking about what you shared the other night. Thank you so much for your vulnerability. And I'm like, that is the power of community. And that's why we were called to be in community, to do those things, to share those things, and to ask for prayer and say, hey, this is something that's going on. Will you help me with this? Or can I just share this with you? Or can you remind me of who I am? Or can you pray with me through this? Or can you tell me I'm not too far gone? I mean, those are the things I think in your 20s, you're figuring out so much. You're testing boundaries, you're testing relationships, you're testing the waters of things. And if we keep that hidden and stuffed, I mean, that is where the enemy gets at you, and that is where he wants you. And so the fact that if you are in that right now, I would just encourage you, find people that are trustworthy, that are safe, that you can open up and share those parts of you with, because that is not something you should walk alone. Even if it's something as simple as, I really desire a husband. I don't want to hold on to that. I want that out there. I want people to pray with me and walk alongside me with that. Or if it's the deepest, darkest parts of me and my abuse and my past, I want to let people know that too, to know that doesn't have a hold on me. That doesn't define me. That is not who I am. And that's just all so freeing to not have to walk that alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I've really been thinking a lot about just the power of confession and how that is just so freeing. And so I think something that's even cool with the podcast too is not like I'm necessarily on the mic like sharing all my deepest, darkest secrets, although sometimes I am, but like it's such a form of vulnerability to allow people who maybe don't even really know you, or maybe people who are super close to you and they just turn on the podcast to kind of hear what you're going through and be like, oh, you know what, maybe I'm not alone in that. And I think that that's really special. And I think that that's really cool that you guys are doing that with Even If, because what an amazing concept. I mean, this is something that applies not only your 20s, 30s, your entire life. And I think that that's really, really special. So before we wrap things up today, is there anything on your heart or anything that God is teaching you right now that you want to just kind of share or encourage or inspire the listeners with?
There's a lot on my heart and a lot that I'm constantly feeling like the Lord is teaching me. My word for March has been explore. And I'm 34. I've run my business for 7 years, and I've been in the fitness industry for almost 10 years. And this month is a month where I'm just like, I think I just want to try things on. I want to see what fits. I never thought, and that doesn't mean that I want to stop doing what I'm doing. I love what I do. But, you know, I think when you are in your 20s, you set off to be like, I'm going to do this. And this is exactly what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life. And we're so green and naive to think that like we have understanding and we know, and God totally is in complete control of that. And I would just encourage, like, if you have an itch and you're feeling like things could be shifting, just to kind of lean into that and explore and try things on, and know that it's okay to change your mind, and it's okay to dabble in different things, and it's okay all the way up into your 30s and your 40s and your 50s. Like, don't really try not to let age limit you in trying to figure out your life, and knowing that if you are obedient and you're walking in the will of God, like you just can't mess it up. And that's something that's been encouraging me just in every season of my life, every area of my life, but especially right now, to just explore what God's kind of doing that is something that I didn't expect. And I think that's something that I'm currently just walking through personally, that I'm kind of leaning into right now, and seeking wise counsel and having them speak into that, and listening when they do, instead of just like, you know, half-heartedly listening, like really kind of seeking and bringing the wise counsel that I have into that. So I would encourage people, explore, try things on.
I love that. I know you shared earlier that's your word of the month, because we both do word of the month, and then we both also have a phrase of the year. And you shared your phrase is expect a miracle with uncommon hope. And my phrase for this year is on a hunt for delight. And I feel like the Lord gave that to me because I was just thinking about how we can choose to see things. We have like I want to pray to have eyes to see, to ears to hear, but we can choose to close our eyes. We can choose to close our ears. We can choose not to see God in the details, or to make ourselves the center of the story. And so my prayer is to be on a hunt for delight, and true delight is Jesus. And so I want to be on a hunt for delight, looking for him in all the little things. And so I think something that's on my heart right now is just, I have this past week even seen him in different ways, and it's just this unexpected joy, because I feel like I'm just constantly reminding myself, I'm on a hunt for delight. Where am I seeing him? And I was reading my Bible the other day, and I mean, y'all, I do the craziest things. Like, I was reading,
I love this story.
I mean, this happens every day. I'm like reading Luke 18. I'm like, okay, 18. What does 18 mean? That was the one about the persistent widow. I'm like, 18. What happened in 2018? And I'm like doing all of this research, like being a detective just to see where I can see this makes sense. And we can't make it make sense because we're not God, but I think I'm looking for him in everything. And even the other day I was like, okay, it's 2025. I journaled that and I was like, 25, 5 plus 2, 2 plus 5, 25 is 7. Okay, 7. 7's the year of completion. I wonder if this is the year of completion for something. What if it's completion for my singleness? And I'm like, well, I am 33. Jesus's ministry lasted till he's 33. And I'm like, I'm not even a numbers girl, but I'm doing numbers. I'm doing anything because I'm just out here. I'm on a hunt for delight. I want to see him so badly. I want to hear from him. I was telling Kenzie the other day that when I see deer, I feel like that's just the Lord's presence. I was driving to Bible study last night and I was thinking about that. I was like, Lord, I just need some deer. Y'all, I come over this hill. I see 10 deer. I sent a video. I meant to send it. I took a video and I meant to send it to you.
Oh my gosh.
10 deer over a hill on a sunrise. And I literally just smiled. I was like, that's you, Lord. I'm on a hunt for delight and you're showing up for me. And I just was so like, I just smiled from ear to ear. I started crying. I was like, thank you for the deer. I needed that. And so I just think something that's been on my heart is just continuing to do that, continuing to be on a hunt. And even if the 2025 completion, even if this little thing that I'm looking for isn't what God had, he is still good. Yeah. Finding hope in what is true, even in my ways of trying to hunt for it. And just believing in his goodness and his plan.
I love that. That's so cool. It's like you're just constantly seeking. And you mentioned earlier, ask, seek, knock. It's like you're just constantly seeking. Persistent prayer, you're constantly asking. That's just incredible. Yeah. All right, ladies. So where can the listeners listen to Even If? Where can they find you guys on socials and all that stuff?
Yeah, we're the Even If podcast. So you can find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, basically wherever you can listen to podcasts, you can find us. Our Instagram is the Even If Pod. And my Instagram personally is Kenzie Todd.
Mine is Sarah Helton.
Is that right? Yeah, I think just our names.
Sarah Helton _
Amazing. I'll have them all linked in the show notes too, so people can just click away. So
love it.
Awesome.
Perfect. You got us.
Thank you guys so much for coming on the pod today. I just so appreciate this conversation. I feel like we could have gone on for like hours and hours and hours. But yeah,
literally, I want to interview you. Like I have so many questions.
I know. You're amazing. We need to know you, Lily.
Yeah. No, I would love to. And like I said, I was taking crazy notes too. So would love to have you guys on again at some point because you guys are just so lovely. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, ladies.
Thank you. Thanks, Lily.
Thank you.
You know, over time, life can get you down. Discouragement starts to creep in, and eventually we just stop letting ourselves hope for more. We say things like, I'll believe it when I see it, and don't get your hopes up. Sounds like good grown-up advice, right? Actually, it's not. Hey, I'm Christy Wright, #1 national best-selling author, speaker, business coach, and mom of 3. Oh, and I have a podcast called Get Your Hopes Up, which is what I want to tell you about. Romans 15:13 says, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him so that you may overflow with hope by power of the Holy Spirit. And that is exactly what my show is about. Whether I'm telling one of my latest crazy God stories or giving you practical advice to live out your faith, I love hanging out with you every Monday to help you get to know God, get closer to him, and get your hopes up again. Listen to Get Your Hopes Up wherever you get your podcasts, and you can learn more at getyourhopesup.com. That's getyourhopesup.com.
What if more important than being right is how we handle being wrong? Holding tightly to ideas that can't adapt with new information is not a virtue, it's a vice. I'm Heather Thompson Day, and I'm inviting you to join me over on my podcast, What If I'm Wrong?, where I'll be your guide through real life questions.
Okay, today we have a submission story, and it is wild.
Subscribe to What If I'm Wrong, available wherever you listen to podcasts.